let's get right into it. These are some of the main questions that I get asked pertaining to reflection 2 of the English SBA. What is the reflection supposed to be about? Miss, what do you mean by use of language or language features? Another question that I'm regularly asked is how do I identify the language used? And also, and I guess especially, how do I discuss the use of language? So let's tackle these questions. First up, what is the reflection supposed to be about? In this second reflection, Csec is asking you to discuss the use of the language in the artifacts that you have selected. And as you know, the types of documents that you can use for your artifacts can be biographies, histories, novels, poems, plays, reports, short stories, public speeches, advertisements, brochures, cartoon strips, videos, diaries, magazines, newspaper articles, or pamphlets. So when they say use of language, what do they mean? Now remember, the writers of your artifacts, these poets and speechwriters and playwrights, aren't only expressing their ideas to you through their words, but also through how they use their words. These words have effect. They can surprise you, they can give you something to think about, they could even leave you feeling inspired. And they're able to do that through language techniques. Language techniques are the elements that a writer brings to his story or her story to emphasize the theme on which they are focusing. These language techniques help us to understand the story or poem or novel in an even better way. So, when you're ready to write your reflection, how do you identify the language being used? One of the first things you can do is identify the genre of each individual piece, which just means type. Say what type of piece it is. Is the artifact you chose a prose, play, drama, song, or whatever it is? The next thing you can write in your reflection is whether or not the language in each piece is formal or informal. Informal language is more casual and spontaneous, while formal language is less personal and does not use colloquialisms, contractions, or first person pronouns such as I or we. Now we're on to the next thing you can do in reflection two, which is to mention the writer's purpose. Did the writer of your artifact intend to entertain you, to inform you, or to persuade you? Now, of course, there are several other reasons why someone may write something, but these are just some of the purposes that a piece may have. Now we're on to the good part, the part that I like. Excuse my English teacher enthusiasm, but this is where we identify the language techniques being used, and this is the part that I find to be the most fun. We go to your artifacts and we start looking. We start digging for things like exaggeration, humor, sarcasm, or statistics. I mean, the list is long, but there are several things that writers put in there to make their pieces and their speeches and songs juicy and entertaining and keep us reading and wanting more. And you're probably asking, all right, miss, so after I find it, then what? This brings me to the last question that students usually ask, which is how to discuss the use of language. And all you really have to do here is state the effect of the technique. Did it pique your interest? Did it increase your understanding? Or, I don't know, maybe it even made it more persuasive. Now, if you're still having trouble, here are some things you can ask yourself. Ask yourself about the vocabulary in your piece. Are there recurring words or types of words? And if there are there any reasons why an author may choose these words instead of others? Take a look at the grammar. Are the sentences deliberately written with incorrect grammar? Remember, these are mostly accomplished writers. So any departures from standard English are most likely deliberate. What is the effect of this writing? And what about point of view? Whose perspective does the writer present? And how does that help your understanding of the piece? You can also look for things like imagery. Are there very detailed or sparse description of places, characters, or even objects? And how does this help you understand what was written or said? And now, as I promised, I'm going to give you a little example. This is my English SBA, my reflection too. The topic of my SBA is drug abuse among young women. And one of my artifacts is a song that I really like by Ed Sheeran called The A-Team. Here is just a small sample of the lyrics for you to see what the song is like. Please ignore the babies in the background, you'll know how it is. My reflection too could start something like this. In my first artifact, a song by Ed Sheeran entitled The A-Team, the language appears to be informal, which helps engage the reader as it seems more familiar and relaxed. The writer uses the song to both entertain and inform the listener of the pitfalls of drug abuse for a particular woman and shows how she turns to prostitution to support her habit. The writer's use of imagery in the song, example, and make sure that you quote your line, helps draw us into the unpleasantness of the experience. The short phrases tap out an up-tempo beat that makes the song enjoyable and tempts us to keep listening. You want to repeat this process for each of your 3 artifacts. So, for just a recap, here's that reflection to writing process again. 1. State the genre. 2. Say whether or not the pieces are formal or informal. 3. Tell them what your writer's purpose was. 4. Look through your pieces and identify the techniques used. And lastly, say what the effect of those techniques were. Now, of course, you're not expected to identify and describe every single device. So when you're finished, you're going to use your summary writing skills and go back and trim and edit and make sure you're within the word count. And that's how you do your Csec English SBA reflection too. If this video has been at all helpful, please subscribe and like and share with someone you feel it may help as well. Bye.